this morning. Don't go away.
The Nigeria Labour Congress, NLC, and the Labour Party have their members spread across this room to rub minds and put together a blueprint to rescue Nigeria. In his welcome address, the national chairman of the party, Mr. Julius Abure, did not shy away from speaking on the state of the nation.
Insecurity has ravaged the country. There is hunger, there is poverty, there is unemployment. The country is not working. Students are at home, no school. This is the situation we find ourselves. And it is very clear to us that it cannot be business as usual come 2023.
Niger State is 76.3 thousand square kilometers of land, fertile land. They can't feed themselves, they can't feed Nigeria, they can't export anything. Netherlands, minus water is 33,000 square kilometers of land. Total agricultural export last year, $120 billion.
The president of the NLC, Mr. Ayuba Waba, and human rights lawyer Femi Falana believe that the nation is in a mess while Nigerians are breaking boundaries abroad.
To remind us of the enormous task of what we need to do and to promote candidate of the Labour Party, but also go to the field. Particularly our youth, I'm so happy that the youth have aligned themselves with the structures and the struggle. I had to branch to Alabama to visit the University of Alabama. I was told that 70% of the well of Alabama was actually aligned to the university. And I went there to see a professor in Nigeria. He said the best 10 are actually Nigerians. So what is going wrong with us is about harnessing our resources, both human and material, to be able to add value and make Nigerian citizens better.
Let me challenge the leaders of the Labour Party. I beg you. You ain't going to get power in Nigeria by adopting the methods of the bourgeoisie. If you want to mobilize the Nigerian people, you must go beyond visiting those who destroy Nigeria. From today, your candidates must go to the offices of all the trade unions in Nigeria. The offices of women organizations, youth organizations, because the people you are competing with, please know this, have acquired, I bet illegally, unbelievable sums of money. And what do they want to do? They want to bribe voters because they have weaponized poverty. We are also told, and Nigeria is the only country that comes out where the government will say, we are losing $700 million every day because of oil theft. Who are the oil thieves? They know them. Oil theft, oil smuggling, all have official backing. Again, Nigeria is the only oil producing country without that has not acquired the meter to know how much oil you produce daily. Nigeria is the only oil producing country that has refused to acquire that meter.
Candidates flying the flag of the party talk about their chances despite divergent views that the party has no structure.
Such that they are able to go back to their villages, to their polling units, and convince 5, 10 people to vote for the party, and then we can win. That is the only way we win.
As campaigns officially begin later this month, the party promises to mobilize its members and members of the labor unions across the country to work for the success of Mr. Peter Obi during the presidential elections in 2023. Dele Omoyeni, Channels Television News.
Welcome back. Chief Victor Umeh joins us now to
Talk us through some of what you heard in that retreat. He is a senatorial candidate for the Labour Party from Anambra State. Good morning. Thank you for coming on today.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Well, that retreat, while the presidential candidate of the party was speaking, talking about Netherlands, before Mr. Farner spoke, which he also alluded to saying, look, because some of the examples that he gave, those countries that he highlighted, the literacy level is higher than ours, so the voting mindset is different from ours. So when Mr. Farner then says, look, you have to be realistic about what you need to do going down there, because some have weaponized poverty, meaning Labour is aware of what is going on. But in that context still, what's the thinking now? Because if there are many who still wonder how Labour Party is going to pull this through, because when the chips are down on that particular day, the mindset of the voter will be different from what they might have been hearing today.
Well, thank you. One important point that needs to be made is the state of affairs in the country. And no matter the segment we are dealing with, whether the people are literate or not, what will play a big role in the forthcoming election will be the harsh economic realities on ground that affects everybody, including the literate and the illiterate. So the challenges are there, but if you look at the phenomenon now, the Labour Party movement and the obedient movement in Nigeria, you will see that every segment of the population has joined. Every segment has joined in propelling this desire for change in the status quo in Nigeria. It's a different thing if people are living well, they have access to food, they have access to Medicare, they have access to the necessary things for having a quality life. If it is not there, you cannot use that old measures to determine the actions of the electorate, what they will likely do.
But Chief, you know this better than I do, because you've participated in elections several times and you still are. Are you discountenancing the scenario that play out? Because this will not be the first elections we're going into. Several elections down the line, many have also said, look, the economic realities at that time were harsh. Yet, the people never looked beyond that particular day. For pecuniary gains, they cast their vote. So are you saying that is not a factor to consider?
No, it's not going to be the same this time around.
How so?
The situation before and now are not comparable. The things have gotten so worse that if you keep listening to people who make available these statistics, they resonate with the people, because the things have become so difficult for everybody. Before, we weren't selling diesel for 900 naira per liter. We weren't selling kerosene, which the ordinary man buys to cook his food or her food, over 700 naira per liter. Our dollar wasn't almost 700 naira per dollar. Pound sterling, you can't even imagine it, and so on and so forth. So there's a saying in my place that you don't use hunchback to compare any element, So the situation now is very debilitating, but everybody is feeling the pangs of this hardship. If you are planning to bring money to go and bribe the voters, I tell you that in 2023, it is going to be a different ball game. Because if you look at the attitude of the ordinary people today, they have removed their eyes from certain directions because they've lost hope completely in those directions. They are now moving along a line that they see hope, because these things are there for everybody to see.
So how do you explain this to us? Because the Osun elections happened in this economic time, and yes, the APC may have lost it and PDP won, and then the APC goes to court at the moment. But if you look at the results, although people say the realities at that time were harsh, it was really tough, over 300,000 people voted for the APC. Doesn't that tell you something?
But they lost the election. What you will check is the outcome of the election. If money, if the money was the decider of that election, APC would have won.
No, what I'm trying to ask is that the amount of people who didn't think that the economic realities were that harsh, doesn't that concern you? Over 300,000?
Well, look at the situation there. The government in the state is being run by the APC. So the entire government structure and apparatus, APC, it is that resolve to change the situation that made Osun people to overpower the APC, albeit with less than 50,000 votes, but they defeated them. If money were to be the measure of who wins, APC will overrun PDP. PDP had nothing on ground, but the power of the people removed the APC. That was the incumbent administration.
We can't exactly say they had nothing on ground, because if you look at the last elections, you saw how closely they ran the APC, and there were controversies at the time. And so perhaps they just leveraged on that and then got this result.
No, 4 years would have been a long time for a party that lost an election to lose steam.
But at the national stage, it's going to be a different scenario entirely. I mean, you speak about the reach, the wherewithal, the networks, how to go into all of those crannies. You will need people to help you prosecute these elections. How confident is Labour about that?
Well, that is the power of the Labour Party now. That is it. The people are with the party. You know, look at things going on in Nigeria across the states of the Federation. If you say that the Labour Party is weak in some areas, they spring up a surprise. In Ondo, you saw how people trooped out. In Cross River, you saw it. In Nasarawa here, you saw it. And it's going on and on like that across Nigeria. So what is the power of the Labour Party now? Are the people, the ordinary people. Despite the things being said, oh, you don't have structure, you don't have this, you don't have that, they've continued to overwhelm their opponents. Yes, people from the other parties are now very panicky. Initially, they were making loose statements that this party is not. And today, Labour Party is their nightmare. Why has it happened? Is Labour Party sharing money? Labour Party is not sharing money to anybody.
What is the focus of Labour? Is it, you say yet?
No, at least from what you are seeing up to now.
So it means
they're not sharing money. No, they will not share money. We don't give shit. We don't. From the summary you are seeing, that's what I'm trying to tell you, that you cannot say that they have influenced anybody with money.
But it takes money. But it takes money to prosecute elections in this country.
Well, the resolve and the will of the people to take their nation back will determine the election. If it is money, that's what I'm telling you. If it is money, Labour Party will not still be going around today. It is not money. People have decided to put a stop to this drift.
So wait, what is Labour Party's thinking? Is it that they will not, when they say they will not share money, what does that mean? They will not deploy or allot funds for prosecuting the elections?
You know what Labour Party is doing? Labour Party is highlighting the problems of the country. Labour Party is using every opportunity to tell the citizens that this place has collapsed. And the citizens are agreeing that this place has collapsed. Because they're not telling them to agree. They're not forcing them to agree. They say, oh, you are telling us what we already know. And the Labour Party says this is the way to go. The presidential candidate of the Labour Party is the most traveled presidential candidate in Nigeria today. He meets every strata of the society, talking to them directly.
So will people be wrong to say that they think that Labour Party is really about the presidential candidate, the presidential slot, or the presidential, if they can win the presidential ticket, that suffices for them, hence the performance in Ekiti and Osun?
No. Ekiti and Osun were elections conducted just before the movement garnered momentum. you know. And today, Labour Party has candidates across the country. Yesterday and 2 days ago, we were in a leadership retreat here in Abuja. And all the candidates of the party we have invited, they were brought together in one place. For 2 days, papers were presented, leadership papers were presented, and all the candidates, both House of Assembly, House of Reps, Senate, gubernatorial candidate, and the presidential candidate were all in attendance, listening to the problems of the nation. That is the way to prepare, you know.
Well,
and by the time you dissolve or bring down the issues to the ground, there's nobody who will take a gun and shoot himself. If the governments they've had in this country have failed the people of Nigeria, why will anybody want to go and vote again? Let me tell you something that happened in Anambra in 2021 during the governorship election. It was in your television too. A woman was approached with money to vote for a certain party. The woman made noise and said over her dead body, will she take money to vote for that party?
Chief
I think that she's using her vote to buy hardship.
You know, Chief Umeh,
she rejected the money, made noise, created a scene, and she was videoed.
Well, Chief Umeh, if you can hear me.
So a poor woman, at that.
Right, Chief Umeh, if I can just come in now.
This is happen again as we go up.
If we can just come in now quickly, Chief Umeh. That example you cited is quite interesting. If you can hear me, Chief Umeh. That example is quite interesting because for Anambra, I mean, that's a state we know that APGA is, I mean, has a major stake there. APGA literally is Anambra. Anambra is APGA's, you know, politicians would say. But, you know, for this one, it's quite different because the Labour Party is, I mean, for some people, new kid on the block compared to the APC and the PDP. But let me go straight to my question. By the way, a lot of people are still surprised saying that you're in Labour Party. I mean, I was just talking about APGA. You just gave the example of APGA. So it's still very tricky for them to, you know, take that out of their minds. But still off that question, really, I noticed that your party also launched this free membership drive, sort of to get more people into the fold of the party. And you made that distinction in your first statements that there is the Labour Party movement and the obedient movement. And that question has been, you know, persistent. How are you going to go about the structure, getting that spread, ensuring that, I mean, beyond maybe presidency, you also get some other positions. In fact, some people are even tipping you to be Senate president if you win that election. But that aside, is that the challenge you noticed? Hence, that membership drive, trying to get members? Because it's one thing to have people on social media supporting the obedient movement. It's another thing to have membership. Other parties boast of, what, 40 million members. So how many members does Labour Party have?
Well, we don't have a final tally now. People will continue to register. We also launched an online portal for registration. Membership is free. This is the way to know a party that has come to bring change. You don't pay to become a member of a political party. So this party from the one is focused on carrying everybody along, particularly the lowly placed people. You want to become a member of a party, you go and take the membership card. You don't pay a dime. And it is working. I can tell you that people are everywhere working hard to join this party by demanding for membership cards. And that's why the party launched 20 million membership cards just 2 days ago. And they will be made available to people free of charge. So people are joining in droves by the day, by the hour. And that is the way to amass the strength you are talking about. I have said it previously that when you continue to judge a new thing with the old order, you'll be making a mistake. During this retreat, the Nigerian Labour Congress, the Trade Union Congress of Nigeria came with all their leadership of the affiliate organizations to the conference, to the retreat. And you were there seeing reports that they have assured 12 million of the votes of their members for the Labour Party. You are still not averting your mind to it. 12 million votes of their members. They have offered it. and have offered their structures down to the 774 local government areas in the country.
I'm sorry, Chief Umeh.
There's no village.
I mean,
I
can only offer my vote, really, as an individual. So it's quite interesting. I understand that talk, but, I mean, how far can you go with offering the votes of others, except there's some rigging involved? You're only assured of my vote. You're not assured of other people's vote. Talk more of 12 million. But you made that point about the... Well, I'm not assuring you of my vote. I just made that statement. Don't misconstrue that, Chief Umeh. Don't get me into that. But let's talk about you know, this old order and the new order you talked about. I mean, you have been with APGA, founded in 2003, before you moved into Labour Party just a few months ago. The presidential candidate of Labour Party has been in the People's Democratic Party, being the vice presidential candidate before he moved into you know, the Labour Party. And I just wonder for you, how is it possible then to say this is the new order? There's that saying that, can you put new wine into old wine skin? What has changed for you, really? How did you become, do I say, born again? For you, for the candidate, and others who are now in Labour Party?
No, I've always been a progressive. There are two parties, APC and PDP, which Nigerians believe have mismanaged the affairs of this country. I've not been part of APC, you know. I started with the PDP and resigned far back in 2001 when I saw the shenanigans playing out in that party. So I have been in a party in the opposition all this while. I've been in APGA. And now we are challenging the status quo again through the Labour Party. That's the natural place where I will belong. And that's why I joined. Because you cannot do the same thing all over and over again and expect a different result. Today, the campaigns will soon start. And you see people who are offering themselves. They've been part of leadership over the years at the highest level. And Nigeria has not made any progress. So it is better to go through a new way of thinking. Our presidential candidate has ably demonstrated that he knows what the issues are, the problems and the solutions therein. And that is why everybody is following Mr. Peter Obi of the Labour Party. The Labour Party cannot be accused of misgoverning Nigeria at any point in history. They've not had that opportunity. So what we need now is to test a new thing. And that is the disposition of the Nigerian electorate. Let us try a new thing. We cannot go back to APC, we cannot go back to PDP and expect a turnaround of the economy of Nigeria. They have been in charge. I listened to a gentleman talking about small and medium scale enterprises, SMEs. Does it mean that the APC government, current APC government, is not aware of SMEs? Are they not aware of it? So somebody will come and tell you, oh, in China it is like this. What about the current government? Or are they not aware that SMEs are the engine room of every economy? Why have they not used that as a way of turning the economy of Nigeria around? What is important is the character, the competence, and the commitment of the chief executive. He's the person who will do all this.
When your candidate says, in the same retreat, Labour president, they said that they were going to give Labour Party, they will produce 12 million votes. Did you actually believe that?
Yes, of course I believe that, because it's a structured organization.
12 million votes?
This is a structured organization. That's what I'm telling you. It's not just a careless statement. There, they had a political commission. All of them were there.
But all of them are not members of Labour Party. Many of them will have their own soft spot for other parties.
So if you subscribe to the membership of an organization, there must be a relationship.
So they're going to compel them, 12 million people, to vote for the Labour Party?
Well, those people are also suffering. If you understand what I'm saying, this is the issue is not really about where you belong now. I know that there are people in PDP who will vote for Labour Party. I know that there are people who are in APC who will vote for Labour Party. What is important is the task of rescuing Nigeria. And people don't believe that these things can work anywhere outside this platform now.
So how is, as we wind down, how is Labour Party going to deal with the fact that many of the people who you would deploy nationally for the presidential elections may not have that requisite experience at that level? perhaps not having prosecuted that kind of elections before. And some other parties who are experienced in handling some of this may just outwit them at the last minute or at some point. You never know.
I've answered this question before.
Oh.
This is just a mere supposition. You believe that people are not there for Labour Party on the day of election. Why should you believe so? You know, this girl...
I'm not saying not there. They may be there.
How will I outwit them?
But the experience to navigate the ropes at that stage is different.
No, don't feel so.
Okay.
The era of election manipulation is gone. Because I've participated in past 3 elections, and I know when they messed the election up. With the introduction of the beavers machine, it is very difficult for anybody to come and rig an election now. When you are there and you are accredited and you put your vote, that is done. People are there for the vote to be counted. So how will you change the result when the result is uploaded to INEC server? These manipulations and conjuring of figures they do during collation. During collation, that's when they do it. We have to believe that every person who is hungry in Nigeria will not want bad leadership in 2023.
Well, we have some accusations that your principal has not visited the Northwest as perhaps they expect him to. Is that the case?
Is it in a rally form or going to meet people? He has been consulting. Mr. Peter Obi is one of the most traveled presidential candidates, consulting all zones in the country, meeting people, you know? So it's when the campaign starts and you have open rallies that we begin to know where one has campaigned and where one has not campaigned. In our own case, there are presidential candidates that emerged without coming to the Southeast to ask for delegates' votes. They didn't come. You know, so when people make these claims, they try to divert attention from the real issues. And the real issues are the scorching environment we are living under in Nigeria today, the economic hardship, you know, and the presentations being made by Mr. Obi, whether on television or when he meets people, hit on these problems and the way he thinks the problems can be solved. So if you don't have the communication of your full knowledge of the issues and the problems and how they will be solved, how are you hoping to win?
All right. Well, thank you very much indeed. Chief Victor Umeh is the senatorial candidate of Labour Party in Anambra State. Thank you very much and all the best.
Thank you very much. Somebody must fix Nigeria, not those who contributed to the problems.